Let's be clear. You served 16 months. You were when Senator Mel Martinez resigned. Governor Charlie Crist is who appointed you in there. And one of the things that you did, which has actually worked out for us terrifically, is you were one of the biggest supporters of the Small Business Jobs and Credit Act, which was passed in late September. A lot of people know that for the $30 billion Small Business Lending Fund. There's some tax cuts in there. Our biggest thing in there was we were finally able to use a 504 loan from the SBA actually to do refinances. And I know that Senator Rubio is on the Small Business and Entrepreneurship Committee for the Senate, which is terrific. I think Florida needs that representation.
I do too.
But we thank you for having supported that, because I think that was a piece of legislation that I think it got caught up in sort of the partisan gridlock, and of course it got passed right before the election and whatnot. But you crossed over the aisle, which I thought showed great courage to do that and to support that.
Well, it was the right thing to do for Florida.
Right.
It was a bill that was drafted by Republicans, but unfortunately got caught up in the election, and folks thought, well, we can't let the president have a victory.
Right.
I'm not there to vote on legislation based upon who it gives a victory to, except for if it gives a victory to business people and people in Florida. And this bill did. It provided a $12.5 billion tax cut for small businesses, and it provided crucial lending to small businesses, not through Goldman Sachs, but through the banker down the street. I just talked to a banker the other day. He's got a small community bank, and he told me they just got their $3 million, which they're going to leverage into $30 million into loans to local businesses. Chris, time and time again, I heard from business people in Florida, I can't get a loan. I mentioned to you before, I met with some folks right here in Orlando, two brothers who had formed a concern, a cheese company selling cheese and milk products to Whole Foods and Publix, couldn't get a loan, went to 10 banks, 10 refusals, had to sell a majority stake in their company in order to get financing to expand. That's not the American dream. We want to help people get back to work. Small businesses, as you know better than anyone, are the engine that create jobs. In Florida, more than any other place, we are not a big business state. We are a small business state. That's why I was proud to support it.
In fact, I think the number, the last time I looked at it, is something like 98.9% of all privately held, non-public companies in the state of Florida are private. So
it's amazing. We don't have one Fortune 100 company that has a headquarters in Florida. We got some knocking on the door. We are in, a relatively young state to be so big, and we are. Our business community is, like you said, 98.9% small businesses. So I'm laser focused on helping small business people.
Now, having said that, again, back to the culture in Washington, so many of the folks there don't seem to get this. If anything, I think the vilification of the profit motive has accelerated in the last couple of years. Do we have any hope? I mean,
well, the president says you're rich if you make more than $250,000 a year, which is conveniently just above what the Speaker of the House makes. So I think everybody who makes more than a politician is rich. Look, we've got to reward people who succeed. These folks who in their spare bedroom, in their garage, now even in their dorm room, create some new invention, some new business. Those businesses employ people. Those people can pursue their hopes and dreams, take care of their families, build this country. Business is the engine that brings about prosperity.
That's right.
We are the greatest country in the world because we have freedom and liberty, and we have a rule of law that allows for businesses to succeed.
That's right.
If you create too many restrictions, too much bureaucracy, too many mandates, too many taxes, too many regulations, business people say, it's not worth it. I'm not going to leave my job at a good paying company with health care and all the other things to go out in my garage, tinker on something new, and take a chance as a startup. It's just too risky. I can't do it for my family. If we create that environment where the entrepreneur doesn't feel like they can go out and start a new business, that it's just too risky, that it's too uncertain, then we're going to kill what it means to be Americans.
Well, and I think culturally, I think we've got to get better at teaching that these people really are taking big risks. In many cases, they're mortgaging their homes. I just met a guy last night who actually sold his home, renting from his parents to start his business. I mean, that's the kind of thing that's the American spirit. And yet these people are being vilified. It's shocking to me.
It's and to say that they're rich. I heard an interview with a gentleman yesterday. He has a trucking company. He's got $750,000 in revenues. He's got 6 trucks and 12 guys working for him.
He's probably an S corp.
Yeah, he puts $50,000. He pays himself a salary. He puts $50,000 in his pocket. This man is not rich. But on paper, you say, well, it's $750,000. He's taxed like he's an individual because he's got a small business. And that's the kind of person who, if we start taxing people who are allegedly rich over $250,000 a year, what is he going to do? He's going to let people go at his business.
Right.
He may shut his business down and go to work for somebody else.
That's right.
That kills jobs. Anytime you raise taxes, anytime you increase regulations, you always have to be thinking in your back of the head, which jobs am I killing? And Washington doesn't understand that.
No, in fact, many of the regulations, they don't consider the economic impact at all, and they don't consider, was this going to kill jobs? And I think that ought to be part of public policy.
It should be. It should be. It should be an evaluation on everything we do, and we should sunset all of these laws.
Right.
Every agency of government, every law should be sunsetted. It should be required that Congress has to look at these laws and reauthorize them,
Right.
because otherwise they just build and build and build, and more layers of complexity create more disincentive for people to start businesses. You know, I would like us to budget every other year. Let's budget 1 year,
Right.
then the next year let's do oversight. Let's cap federal spending. Let's make these secretaries come in and justify the budgets of their agencies. Let's
Right.
go through them line by line, and things that don't get voted on would go away. That would have the predominance would be then to get rid of government, not to increase it. Right now, government builds and layers and builds and layers,
Right.
and it takes away our freedom.